Hi everyone, welcome to the Envelopes Emmy Contender Series. I'm Yvonne Villarreal, and today we're talking to Gerald McRaney, who tugged at our heartstrings as Dr. K in NBC's This Is Us. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
How often are people approaching you and just...
Often enough that I feel safe that I'm not going to have to get a real job anyway. No, I'm getting quite a bit of comment. Even my driver today, bringing me to this interview, had comments about the show. He loves it. And that's the thing that's been interesting to me is a lot of big, tough guys approach me about, you made me cry. You know, and they seem to be a little upset about it, so I apologize to them right away.
And do you find that you're getting a lot? I know talking to some of the actors on the other actors on the show, they say that it's never just I like the show. It's usually a conversation of,
oh yeah,
it reminds me of
well,
this.
they go into depth.
Yeah.
And yes, and they have some personal thing that relates directly to the show.
What's that like?
To me, it's strictly a reflection on how good the writing is, because the writers on the show have captured that thing where my old acting teacher once said that he thought true art was the ability to communicate with people and have them think, oh my God, I thought I was the only one who ever felt that way. But I think a lot of people are identifying with This Is Us, and the writers have found that pulse, that common humanity, and it's appealing to people, plus which the show is about just decent people who, you know, have problems to overcome, and they deal with them the best they can, but there are no evil people on the show. There's nobody doing terribly mean-spirited things. It's just ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, and that makes for good drama.
How often are you asked if you know how Jack died?
So far today, you're the first,
Okay.
but that's probably not going to be the end of it. And my answer is always the same. I don't have a clue. I don't know that Jack has a clue. You know.
Do you have a theory? Everyone has a theory.
No, not
No.
really.
No.
I'll just wait for the mystery to be unraveled.
Well, tell me how this show sort of came to be on your plate, and did you have any idea from what you read in the pilot that this arc would continue?
Well, I had done a movie with the guys who directed the pilot episode, John and Glenn, and they asked me to come and do this role that was, I guess, shot on this pilot, and I came in and did it. And the role, as written, was just fabulous. I mean, it's the kind of thing that actors wait for a career to have a scene like I had in that episode. And I thought that the character could come back after that, but even if he didn't, I didn't really care. It was the opportunity to really do some acting, because, you know, and I've said before, again, I keep harping on the writing on this show, but it's important. All you have to do is learn the words, say them, and stay out of your own way to be successful at this. Not that that's an easy thing to do, because the temptation is always to take material that is that good and put your own 2 cents in and gussy it up a bit. You don't have to. You can't improve on this, so just let it be. And I hope that I've done that successfully.
And there was a critical line that he says to Jack about the lemons and making it into lemonade. But did you have any idea how much would ride on that line?
Not particularly on that line, but I did like the way they phrased it. It wasn't taking lemons and turning it into lemonade. Something resembling lemonade. You know, again, it's not going to be perfect. It will never be perfect, but do the best you can with what you have. And I think that's thematically the essence of the show. Do the best you can with what you have. And that's what these people are doing, and I think that's why people identify with them.
What did you think how did Dan sort of approach you that he wanted to have this sort of standalone episode where we explore more of Dr. K's backstory. And had you thought at all about what his backstory might be?
Every actor makes up some sort of backstory, and mine sort of lined up with this. You know, the guy having lost his wife not quite a year before that pilot episode was done, that's what I hinged my performance on, was that sense of loss, both of his wife and the fact that they had lost a child early on in their relationship, and what a man must be going through to experience that level of loss. So that was my whole thing, and then to have them expand on that and really examine what that was like was interesting to me, but it was a treat as well. Again,
I went through a lot of tissues with that episode. Lots of tissues.
Did you?
Yes. Could you see that's where it was going? I mean, when we see him at the table having his breakfast and he's talking.
That's actually some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Is just the scenes where he's talking to his wife who isn't there.
Who isn't there.
But he's going to carry on the conversation no matter what. And I can only imagine what it would feel like to lose my wife. Thank God. But I don't know if I would be coherent enough to have that conversation. But you know, my imagination can sort of identify with Dr. K and his circumstances. But again, knock wood and thank God I don't have to deal with it.
Did you find that you couldn't even think about that in playing those scenes? Like you couldn't go there?
I couldn't quite go there. That was the hard part, and especially the stuff at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because I finally did sort of go there, and that was hard to take.
Does Delta watch the show with you? Do you guys sit down and watch it? What does she think of it?
It was kind of hard for her to take, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the way that Dan told that story for Dr. K?
I thought it was brilliant. And it's one of those things, too. We go to the hospital, we go to the doctor's office, they prescribe our pills, they do whatever. And it's one of those things where you don't think about, okay, what's going on in his life, what's going on in her life. It's almost as impersonal as when we sit down at the lunch counter. We don't really think about what has our waitress been through today. We just have lunch. We just go to the doctor. We just get our pills. And it's interesting to examine what went on behind the scenes there, because the story is about that couple and their children. But it was interesting to go behind the scenes a little bit with the doctor and see what got him to the place where he was.
And why he had what appeared to be some walls built up. He was a little,
And the fact that the doctor is cracking jokes, but the cracking of jokes is the cover. It's how he deals with every day, and keeps going. Is he's making stupid jokes about things.
Well, you had recently played a widower in is it Widow or Widower?
Widower.
You know who messed this up for me?
Who?
Kiefer Sutherland, because he insisted it was widow, and
Widow
I'm like,
is the lady.
that's the woman.
The widower
he
is
messed
the
it.
man.
I will just say that.
Yeah.
He kept arguing.
Oh, what does he know? He's
What does he
Canadian.
know? But you played that in Best of Me recently. Like that was what, a few years ago? 5 years ago? About that?
God, has it been that long? I think something like that, yeah.
Did you find that you drew upon, like, you centered him in the same way, or no? It was a little different.
Only to the extent that, an actor has to use his imagination, and so you picture yourself in those circumstances, and how would that affect me? And so, to that extent, it's the same, but they're two totally different characters, so.
And we also see Dr. K in the Christmas episode, where we see that he has some complications, and his family isn't there. They're, celebrating Christmas, and they don't know if they could get back in time.
Yeah.
Talk about those scenes, sort of, having that family there with you, and also just having the kids around, playing off the kids.
Well, number one, dramatically, theatrically, I think what was going on is the examination of death itself, and what does that mean to different people, and the importance of family and having them with you in times of crisis like that. But it also went beyond immediate family and into sort of the family of man, humanity, and the way that the doctor had become a part of this family by doing that scene in the hallway in the hospital and giving that advice and sort of insinuating himself into these people's lives. And it's interesting, when I was a kid, I had doctors like this who didn't just treat patients.
See, I
They
didn't
were-
have a doctor like this. I was like, why didn't I have a doctor like Dr. K?
I was
But
lucky,
you
I did.
You did?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was in a small town in Mississippi, and our family doctor was very much like this, Dr. Oser. He was a good, kind, decent man who was also a very good doctor, but these were his neighbors. You know, he wasn't treating impersonal patients, and I think that's the thing that makes Dr. K, Dr. K, is that he's treating people.
Did you sort of model him after your own?
To a certain
and to
extent,
some
yeah,
extent,
yeah. Every time an actor plays a role,
They pick from somewhere.
everything that has happened to him up to that moment is a part of the preparation. I mean, you can't help it. It's not something you have to do purposefully.
Right.
It's going to happen no matter what. But yeah, I thought about him quite a lot when I was playing that role.
Well, we've seen you in so many parts, even recently. Like, you're everywhere.
Each having a real job.
You're everywhere. Where does this role sort of rank for you?
Right at the top.
Yeah?
Yeah. Again, I go back to the writing. Anytime that you have writing that is this good, you want to do it. It may be challenging. It may take you places where you are uncomfortable. But the actor in you wants to go there. It's weird. But actors can sort of relish being in uncomfortable emotional situations. But it's I don't know, it's that constant examination of the human condition, I think, that, you know, entrances us and keeps us doing what we're doing.
If there was a spin-off on Dr. K,
There wouldn't be.
but what would it be like, sort of him having his own This Is Us, like flashing back, and do you think about what that looks like when he's like?
Well, I think it would be that sort of thing. It would be, you know, if they did such a thing, it would be the story of a guy who just likes interacting with people, who, you know, happens to know the art and science of medicine. But there's more to the human being than just that.
I want to see, what do you think a young Dr. K was like?
Well, you said young, so we go with stupid to begin with.
Why do you say that?
Because you just, as intelligent as you can be, as good a student as you can be, you haven't had the life experience
Yeah.
to make you wise. You can be intelligent, but not necessarily wise. And there's the difference. I think, you know, I think Dr. K was actually both. I think he was probably a damn good medical student to begin with. And then, you know, all of his life experiences get layered on, and you wind up with the guy who's 73, 74 years old and interacting with this young couple and trying to sort of ease their way along by sharing some of his life experience. And here's what you can expect, and here's the way you need to deal with it, in my opinion. But I think a young Dr. K was probably highly intelligent and probably a little naive. And I think probably at 74, he's still a little naive.
But he's at least buying sugary cereal for his grandkids,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is what a good grandfather does.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nice.
And it, you know, keeps dentists employed.
What's it like to see how this show has become this phenomenon? It's already been renewed for 2 more seasons.
That's unusual.
That's unusual. It's going to be the post Super Bowl slot next year. They were thinking about doing having it on Thursdays, but because they didn't want to break up the narrative, it's staying on Tuesdays. But even so, that would have been a big deal too.
Yeah.
What's it like seeing how a family drama could hit all those marks?
It's encouraging, for
Yeah.
one thing, and I think I think that people in the audience were ready for a break from all the sort of mean-spirited, ugly things that were beginning to be. And there's room for everything on the schedule. Don't get me wrong. I've done plenty of those
Yes.
things. But I think the audience was ready for just something that is about people they know. Not superheroes, not supervillains, but their neighborhood. I think they were ready for that. And this show delivered it.
What did you think of the epic
Which is why I think the series title is what it is. This is us.
This Is Us?
Yeah.
I feel like Elena has said it like 5 times today, and I'm like, you keep saying the show title. I love it. What did you think of the epic fight scene? Did you watch the finale?
No.
Oh,
I
you didn't?
I didn't.
I was going to say, whose side are you on?
I'm the doctor. I'm not on anybody's
No
side.
big sides.
No.
Well, doing this as long as you have, I mean, is it weird to think you wouldn't be here had you not had that knee injury in high school?
Well, it was junior high.
Junior high?
Yeah, it's sort of that butterfly effect thing that, you know, anything that happens to you has a direct effect on the rest of your life. But, yeah, I hadn't really considered being an actor. I mean, every kid, you know, in my era wanted to be like John Wayne or something like that, but it was just, that was a fantasy thing. But when one of the teachers actually put me on stage in a role, it was like, oh, geez, I think I could do this.
What was it? Do you remember?
It was a one-act play, playing, of all things, a dwarf. I don't remember the title of the play, but I played a dwarf. And I thought, well, if I can do this, I can probably do other stuff. And I started getting interested in it and studying it. And by the time I was in high school, I had moved down to the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And this was, you talk about fortuitous things. The little town that I lived in had a girls' college there
Okay.
that had a theater department that was 2 people who had gone to Northwestern,
Okay.
who were very, very good at what they did. And all up and down the Gulf Coast, there were little theater companies and this girls' college that desperately wanted young men to come in and play roles in their plays. And I was like,
Sign
let's
me
see,
up.
me and 850 girls, I think I can do this. So
What did
I
your
was very
parents
lucky.
think? Because your dad was like, what, was he?
He was
part
a
of-
builder.
Builder.
Yeah, he built houses and sold houses.
Because this isn't very much, it's not like a practical thing to
No,
go into.
they were what I refer to as responsibly discouraging about the idea of being an actor. That is a story I love to tell about my brother, who's 9 years older than I am. But when I was in college, I was a theater major, and I think he had been dispatched to talk some sense into me. And he came up at a time when we were doing Henry IV Part 1, and he came to see the play. And I was getting out of my makeup in the dressing room. And the stage manager came to me and said, your brother's out on stage. He wants to talk to you. So I hurried up with what I was doing and rushed out there. And Buddy was standing on stage with just the work light on, looking out in the audience.
That's dramatic.
And I walked up to him and said, did you want to see me? He said, yeah. You're good at this. If you ever need my help, you know where to find me. And he left.
Oh my God.
And that was the end of that. He went back home, had a talk with my parents, and never heard another discouraging thing about it.
Wow. What
Yeah.
did you feel in that moment?
Like I could do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was it easy after that, or?
Nope. But
Because you had stopped for a while. You went to like work for like an oil.
no.
No?
Actors do all manner of jobs. I never
Never
quit.
stopped.
That job that I had in Louisiana was half the year I was working on oil rigs out in the Gulf of Mexico, but the other half of the year I was in a rep company.
I see.
You know,
And you also
and the oil field job allowed me to be an actor.
Yeah.
You know.
Same with you. Also drove a cab, right? And
That was here
helped
in
you?
L.A.
Yeah.
That paid for my acting classes and my rent
Wow.
and things like that. And I drove at night so that I would have my days free for auditions. And this was mainly with Beverly Hills Cab Company. It was a great gig because you could go do several days on a TV show or get a little movie or do something like that, and then just show back up at the cab barn, and the dispatcher would take 36, and you're out and driving a cab again. They never question where you had been or anything like that. You're back. They need a driver in that cab, so take it.
How about like the different types of people you pick up? Like, does seeing all these different kinds of people that you interact with help you?
It's good character studies.
Yeah.
Very good character studies. And, you know, I would meet all sorts of people. I got a private tour of Pickfair one night because I picked up one of the relatives of Mary Pickford.
Wow.
At bar call, and he took a liking to me. So it's like 2:30 in the morning, we're sitting in Pickfair, and just, you know, I was having a big time. And, you know, a couple of times people tried to rob me, but one time I didn't even have any money, so that was kind of a joke for both of us. Fortunately, the thief had a sense of humor about it.
And did you just have like the Thomas guide out at all times?
Yes.
I can't imagine that.
Well, people take for granted GPS
I know.
these days, but that was it. The Thomas Guide was your only help in those days.
Yeah.
And I remember having to go up into the hills, in the Hollywood Hills, to pick people up. Even with the Thomas Guide, I could get so lost up there.
Mm-hmm. And then you
trying to
can't
find
call the
addresses.
person.
No.
Yeah.
No, certainly not.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Stress city for me.
And especially, I remember one year in the early 70s, going up into the Hollywood Hills, and it was just raining cats and dogs, and there's mudslides coming down and rocks falling in front of me. And I'm looking for this address, and I was like half an hour late to the pickup. It was awful.
So we like the Dr. K gig.
We like anything that's not a real job. You know, those things are work. I don't like work. I never have.
Work. Well, I know Dan is in LA cranking out episodes. Have you gotten any scripts?
No.
Are you pulling a house of cards
mine
on
is
me?
no, I'm not. I haven't gotten a script. I don't know. I'm hoping that Dr. K comes back. You know, let's flash back to the 70s, Dan. Come on.
What do you want to see from Dr. K? If you could, I mean, you've written for TV before, right?
Yeah.
What would you write for him in season 3? What do you want to see from him?
I would like to see him at some point deal with the kids when they're like in elementary school.
Okay.
That sort of a thing, to have some influence on the direction that those lives take.
Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe babysit or something. Help them with homework.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you have the cereal stocked, probably?
Yeah, but in all likelihood, those parents wouldn't permit that kind of cereal in their household.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you think Dr. K got this Christmas card?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah.
I leave it hanging on my desk.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
It's a good card.
I don't know which here. You think he has this?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I love it. We're going to end with a lightning round.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I'm missing questions.
Uh-oh.
We have questions. And now I messed it up. Here we go. Jack on Facebook asks, would you be open to a Simon and Simon reunion show?
Well, we did one ages and ages ago, but I'd love to do another one again. I still talk to Jameson once every month or so anyway, and we still go hunting and fishing together and stuff like that. So that was, again, that was 8 years of stealing money. We both had such a good time on that.
What do you think about this whole era of reviving and reunions and rebooting?
I don't know. I like it to the that I can be involved in it, but it also implies that people can't come up with any new ideas.
But can we get a Major Dad reboot? Oh,
Well, he
someone
would have
asked
to be
that.
something besides a major by now.
Someone asked, would you, if someone offered a reboot of Simon and Simon or Major Dad, would you do either or both?
Yeah, I would do both.
Both?
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
Okay. If someone offered you a job driving a cab, would you do that?
Not on your life.
But there's GPS now.
It still
No.
work.
Okay.
Back when I was doing it, though, there was a guy, one of the older men, God, must have been in his 40s, but one of the older guys driving a cab was putting a kid through college. Now, granted, it was a
Wow.
local college, but I remember thinking at the time, this is the guy who should be in charge of the federal budget. This is a guy who knows how to handle money.
How to handle money.
You can put a
Wow.
kid through college driving a cab, you're a genius.
Wow. That's inspiring.
Yeah.
Gonna go balance my checkbook after this. Lightning round. Ready?
Set.
Last show you binge watched.
Downton Abbey.
Ooh, good. Show that you would love. Wait, a show that you love that you would want to sit and watch someone else enjoy for the first time.
Casablanca.
If you could go back and be on any classic show, what would it be?
I Love Lucy.
Oh, yes. Genre you would like to try.
I think I've tried them all.
That's a good thing. Walter White or Tony Soprano?
Tony Soprano.
What was your first acting job, and we'll say professionally, and what did you learn that you are still using now?
It was a role that had been created for our particular rendition of Arms and the Man, where I played a Russian soldier.
Okay.
And I still know how to say goodbye in Russian. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, Gerald, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm
it was
Mac, by the way. Gerald is much too formal for me.
Mac, thanks
Yeah.
so much for joining us.
My
If
pleasure.
you do get a script for season 2,
I'll
let
share
me
it
know.
with you.
Thank you. I know they're going to be on lockdown, supposedly. For all you tuning in, thanks so much. If you want to check out more of our chats, head over to latimes.com. Thanks.